become champions. Celtic way, wait for the ball from side to side, and enter me, try to hide, the wait for the ball from front to back, attack, 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 67, and then he's a burst man, the buzzing and a thousand.
Good evening, welcome to Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast, episode number 133. Paul just get back for his holidays today, so he's not on the night either. It's just me and Terence again. If anybody wants to come on, I'll put the link out. Anybody's welcome. If you've got anything to talk about Celtic-wise, you're more than welcome to come on. Tonight we'll be looking back at yesterday's game against Ross County, talking about the performance, what still needed to be done with the team, what still needed to be done with the squad. We look forward to the Aberdeen game next week. I'll do a few shout-outs, first of all, for some of the guys off the forum: Richie, David, Tim Alloy, Buzz, Welshie, Mikey. I don't know if Mikey's listening in, Glasgow Green. Forums at www.celticrumours.co.uk. Everybody, Celtic supporters, more than welcome to come there and join in the crack and have a bit of banter with all the folk that post on there. It's quite a good forum to be on. The links to everything, the forum and etc. is in the description box below on our link tree. We're up to now 718 subscribers, so I think we picked up another 5 or something for the other night, so that's brilliant. Thanks very much to everybody that subscribes, and if you've not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and if you know how, leave a comment in the box below. A few shout outs to Bobby. Nice to see you, Bobby. I'm Grot Bags. Evening, Brian, nice to see you again, bud. You there, Terence? Aye.
I am indeed, bud. I'm here.
We'll just go on, mate. So, what do you think? That was a good weekend for us overall, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a great weekend overall, Mark. I mean, all credit to Ross County. They came and they made a match of it. The first 10 or 15 minutes, they had Celtic under pressure, and another day referee, I think, would have given a penalty. And they certainly got in Celtic's faces, and they made it hard and difficult for them. And I think obviously once we got the penalty, kind of eased a bit for Celtic, and they always looked in control after that. But you'd, as I said, you kind of worry that it finished 4-2 and not something like 7-1. No, that has a bit to do with their keeper as well, who was. If you take the Celtic side out, he was probably man in the match. Like he was absolutely outstanding, the keeper. So yeah. Overall, it's a win, which is the main thing. And obviously, then the result in this on that afternoon with the Kilmarnock result is obviously a big boost to Celtic. But what I would also just kind of reiterate, the former Spurs, or the Spurs manager, I should say. He lost his first 3 away games, so I wouldn't be reading too much into it. It's very, very early doors.
But this isn't his first game, Mikey. Terence.
Oh, I know. I get that. But what I'm saying is, it's a huge fillet for Celtic that they've lost in their first game with all the hype and everything that went with it. But it's listen, on that, Celtic have had nightmares on that Kilmarnock pitch. We've said numerous times here it shouldn't even be allowed. I'm not defending anything to do with them. I have no interest in that side of it. But I'm just saying, the biggest thing that Celtic have to do is they have to now make sure they get a result next weekend, because it'll undo a lot of good work if they don't get a win next week in Pittodrie, and for argument's sake, it just put some momentum back the other way maybe.
It'll be a hard game for us next week, no doubt about it. Evening, Daniel and Martin. Nice to see you again, lads. I've seen a lot of people going on about that, about Ange lost these games and stuff like that, but Bill's been there long enough to. I watched some highlights yet, and they weren't. I don't think if that's the way they're going to play all season, we've got nothing to worry about with them, really, I don't think. And we were scrappy. I mean, I'll put the stats up if I can find where I put that. I was actually surprised when I seen the stats. I don't know if you can see them there, Terms.
Yeah, I can actually, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not the kind of... It wasn't... See, when I seen the stats, I thought, that doesn't seem like the game I watched. I mean, I can't 12 shots in target, but it just says that shows you just like how the kind of performance that their keeper put in. Which compared to your keeper was night and day, let's be honest. I thought Hart was a bit...
He was shocking.
Oh.
But like the four... There's four would spring to mind. Mark is Turnbull in the first half was played through. He made a great save from him. There was the one in Kyogo missed one in the second half. There was there was a double save from a kind of Abada, and he got back up to save Maeda, and he saved one. He saved a great move from James Forrest, or a great move with James Forrest at the end of it. So there's 4 or 5 that could comfortably have been a goal. You know, I thought that keeper's performance was like night and day. I know Hart doesn't have the same amount of stuff to do, but just some of the stuff that when he does have to do, you know what I mean? He kind of... I didn't like their goal. Their goal was just awful. Like, he's a guy heading the ball inside the 6-yard box, 3 yards out, and Hart. If you watch it, Hart never leaves the ground. He never leaves the ground.
You'd have caught that, Terms.
I would have, yeah. And that's not saying much, like.
But then, and again, I used to talk about it under Ange and that, about putting players on the post at set pieces and at corners and stuff like that. But they put Kyogo on the post. You need somebody that's going to have a... See if that had been one of the defenders or somebody with a bit of height. I mean, Matt O'Reilly would have got to that. He'd have been able to... Matt O'Reilly would probably been able to clear that. Yeah,
that's a fair point, Mark. But at the same time, like, it's normally the fullbacks or the smaller players that, generally speaking, at times go on the posts. In fairness, when that ball came in, there was no one on the post. Kyogo runs back to cover the post. It's a looping header. I wouldn't be overcritical of the fact it was Kyogo, and you wouldn't necessarily stick one of your good defenders on it. But it's in the 6-yard box. Joe Hart has to clear house. He has to take everything with him, ball, whoever it is, and 9 times out of 10 you will get a free kick. And he's standing, just waving his arms up and down, as if to put your man off. And now, to be fair to the Ross County guy, I'd say he was more surprised than anyone. He just got his head on it to nearly loop it back over the other side, and it just happened to loop the whole way back into the far corner. So, like, I mean, it's Joe inside the 6-yard box. Joe Hart should be dominating that, and he should be coming flying for that ball. You know, I just thought it was very, very poor defending, and it allowed them back in the game to a game that they were. In all essence, dead and buried in when they were 3-0 down. It was like, and all of a sudden they got a bit of a pep in their step, like.
It was Hart. I said the other night as well, Terence, definitely Hart's the weakest link in that team for me.
Well, if you look at the pre-season as well, Mark, I mean, I don't like slagging Joe Hart because he's done a lot of good for Celtic, and it's a critique in the guy, not slagging him off. So
no.
You know, I mean, he's the same. Like in the Wolves game, he gave away the penalty. Juby's penalty, yes, Doherty went down very, very easy. I think the referee in another day, I'm very surprised they didn't give a penalty against Joe Hart yesterday for the Ross County one. And it would have been a red card.
If that was at the other end, Terms, we're screaming for a penalty for Celtic.
And a red card, Mark, because it's like I think what killed the fella was the fact that he tried to keep his feet and he was 7 or 8 yards and then went down. I think if he had made contact and he'd nearly stuck his leg in, because Hart does move his leg out slightly. You know, it's minimal contact, yes. But you could see in Scotland, you could comfortably see a referee going, his contact, he's gone down, that's a penalty. And it would have been a red card, you know. So
I think we got away with one yesterday with that. I definitely do.
Oh,
but
massively.
As you all know, Terence, these things even themselves out of the season. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, they do apparently. But look, Celtic have had plenty of rough calls, so to speak, in that side of it last year. So, you know, I mean, no harm. One goes their way. It's for a change, you know. It normally doesn't, you know.
I mean, see with Joe Hart, I said it the other night, and I still say it. I mean, it's just for me, it's just ages caught up with him. I think, do you know what I mean? It's like we said how many times was JFP on here, about how many points McGregor earned Rangers in a season and that. And then over the last couple you just saw the total drop completely. McGregor kind of just went off a cliff, his career, didn't it? I think that's just what's happened with Joe Hart as well. I was speaking to Mikey earlier on, and Mikey says, if I was Joe Hart and his agent, I'd be having a wee sniff about this Saudi league to see if he can maybe get a couple of years of a contract over there on some serious dough.
Yeah. Look, that's a very fair point. It's a very, very fair point. No, the individual himself might be very happy and content to where he is, but like you would be fearful at the minute of what's in that category for Celtic. That Joe Hart does seem to have regressed slightly. I mean, as I said, you look at the Wolves game, not necessarily the penalty, but the one under his body where he goes to stop it, and the man still gets a shot in under his body. He doesn't. Not that he was ever gifted with it, but he doesn't seem to be as comfortable with the ball at his feet. I know that sounds really stupid statement to make, but
no, I know what you mean. Last year he was struggling, but he was getting by with it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just that seems to have just dropped right off as well.
He appears to need at least 2 touches to get it sorted before. Do you know what I mean? Look, to me, like, you've got Seagrass, who's probably for the off. You've got Hart and you've got Bain. It's just not strong enough. You're going to lose. Starford obviously is pretty much gone, which is fair enough. And there's justifiable reasons for that. I wish him well and all the best. But they definitely need to. They definitely need, as we had this conversation the other night for me, Mark. They definitely need to strengthen the goalkeeper, at least one centre back. I thought centre forward, but obviously judging on what Rodgers has done, his centre forwards are Maeda, Kyogo, and O.
Aye.
He's not. So there's that could be a centre forward coming in, because I was very surprised when I saw not Kyogo coming off, but when it was basically the two, when Forrest came on and Yang came on, I was like, okay, that means obviously Maeda is going into the middle, which was a strange one. You'd be disappointed if you were O, obviously, in that regard, because I thought he's performed well in the pre-season, to be honest.
But I mean, we said it the other night. Rodgers himself came out and said that he sees Maeda more as a kind of playing through the middle, which again, it's a kind of sword that'll live or fall, or whatever it is he's saying. Is evening, Joseph. Nice to see you, bud. You, Deef, as well. Thanks for joining us again, mate. Who were we talking about there in terms? Sorry.
I'm saying about Maeda in the middle.
Aye, it just seems to be, and fair dues, if it's going to be like, I'd like to think Maeda would be like our third choice striker. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like first choice, like on a wing or that, but when it comes to playing it up front, I'd like to think he's got to be the third choice if Kyogo goes out and O's maybe starting, and it would be Maeda coming on or whatever it is. But I think I've said it before, and I've said it right away from we signed Kyogo, and I first seen him playing a few games. I would like to see him playing. A lot of people came out yesterday and says they didn't like seeing him having to come so deep for the ball and that. But I mean, his pass for O'Reilly's goal was a peach.
Oh, but in fairness to him, I think someone said it as well. I think he set up like three of the 4 goals. He was involved in them. You know what I mean? I mean, even for Taylor's penalty, I think he lays the ball off to Taylor.
Aye.
And Taylor makes a touch, and then your man goes in. As I said, the pass for O'Reilly was fabulous. Even the one James Forrest chance, like if you look at it again, like it's played to him, and it's a first time ball into Yang, and he whips it in. I think it is, or Abad or something like that, and or Maeda, one of them anyway. And they whip it into James Forrest. So he was obviously the Kyogo of last season, whatever, was right on the front line. This Kyogo was getting space, and he's getting a chance, and he's playing a lot of first time balls and turning and twisting. So obviously this is the way Rodgers wants him to play. He doesn't want him to stay up there. And at the same time, if he's going to be moving into space like that, and he's able to contribute those kind of passes, then all for it. Because like there was a lot of criticism of Kyogo from all of us, from the point of view that he might have touched the ball twice in one half. Whereas if this means he's going to get involved in it a little bit more, and he's going to be more of a, and he's going to open, and they're allowing they're allowing the midfielders get past Kyogo as well now.
Aye.
In Turnbull and O'Reilly, which wasn't something that occurred last season. They would have been, you wouldn't have seen many of them pass the forward men realistically in the game. Whereas now, when Kyogo's dropping, they're automatically nearly going into his space. And if Kyogo's doing the round the corner ball or whoever is making the passes, so you can't argue, Mark. You won 4-2, so it should have been more, as I said. But yeah,
the thing about it's a win turn. So we sitting nitpick or the bones of this stuff. Evening, William. Thanks very much for coming in, mate. Nice to see you joining the channel.
If they win 4-2 every game, Mark, they'll win the league.
Aye.
We won't worry about how many goals they concede.
And we know that we're going to get better. Do you know what I mean? It's the first game of the season. We were. It wasn't a great performance. It was a comfortable win.
Yeah.
And that's it. The job was done, and the result later on in the afternoon just kind of put the cherry on the cake.
It did, yeah, big time.
So just going back to what we're saying there with Kyogo, as I said, I think that if Rodgers is going to bring in players or whatever before the window closes, right? Is he going to go back to his 4-2-3-1 formation? And for me, if he does that, Kyogo's going to be that kind of number 10, the cam role.
Yeah. Yeah,
just even the way Rodgers was getting him to play yesterday, it was as if he was kind of getting him used to that kind of role, coming deeper and playing deeper and stuff like that. So, it'll probably cut down the amount of goals Kyogo actually scores, but I think it could be better for the team.
But they might be, they might be doing it in the basis, Mark, as well, that when Kyogo drops like that they've done it. I don't know. I'm only making an assumption that Kyogo drops, that the likes of Maeda comes in from the wing as your number 9 then position. Do you know what I mean? Or something like that he fills the space. But certainly the midfielders, when Kyogo dropped and was laying off balls, it was midfielders like the O'Reilly one's a prime example of it. You know, Turnbull had a cracking goal as well. It was, again, if you look at it, he's laying off the ball. And people are so drawn to Kyogo that when he moves, if someone goes with him, there's automatically space left or right. And the funny thing about Kyogo is, if he actually had this, for his first goal, it was just one touch, bang. If he did that more in front of goal, he'd have a hat full of more goals. He missed the sitter. For some reason, he went to take a touch in the 6-yard box. I don't know why, but he did. But rather than if he just puts the laces through it, it's a second. So look, they were all very good. Kyogo was very good. Turnbull had a fine game. O'Reilly was super. You know what I mean? Rocky lad, that Rocky guy was excellent. They were. Greg Taylor had a cracker of a game.
Do you think, just with some of the stuff that's come out in the press, and even yesterday after the game when O'Reilly and Turnbull were on the telly, do you think O'Reilly just maybe wasn't that comfortable with the way Ange was managing the team?
Oh, big time, because that's the second time.
Aye.
That's the second time he's come out with it, and he wasn't even asked a question when Turnbull was saying something, and he basically put it in to go, he should have been playing a hell of a lot more last year.
Aye.
And he was fairly vengeance in his voice, kind of the way he was saying it. He wasn't jokingly saying it
And it makes you then start to wonder how many other players were feeling the same kind of way as O'Reilly. Do you know what I mean? Because it's all came out that Ange wasn't a very kind of hands-on thing with the players and that. And I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast. I think it was Mike I was telling you the other day. I can mind reading a story a while back about Ange. And it was some player that he'd managed when he was managing, was it Melbourne City he managed there in Australia, whatever Australian team it was. Right, and he'd managed this player there. And then when he went, but eventually when Ange became the Australia manager, this guy was at an Australian meet, an international, call it whatever it was you want to call it. And he actually said to one of the other coaches that he was friendly with, he says, if I'd done something to upset the boss, upset Ange, and the guy's like, no, that I know, I'll go and ask him. And he went up and says, so-and-so says about, you've not really been talking much to him, and Ange just kind of says, go and tell me I'll worry when I do want to talk to him, or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just seems that maybe it was that kind of distant for the players. A lot of players, when wouldn't buy into that. And I think that's what O'Reilly's been kind of getting at. And again,
Well, I imagine if you ask Abada, it's a similar question.
Ange's favourites. Do you know?
Yeah, if you ask
Abada, there another one.
Abada.
Abada's another example. Aye.
You know, so yeah. Look, well, I mean, O'Reilly has certainly laid down his marker in that regards because he had said it kind of there recently, and he said it very, very openly there yesterday, and it was kind of made very, very clear. You know what I mean? He wasn't shirking behind it, but you know, he could have quite comfortably thought, Mark, for argument's sake, that like O'Reilly played in a certain position when McGregor was out, and he played super, and he probably thought, grand, I'm probably going to be staying here, and then he was, you know, just moved, and then he lost all form and confidence when he went back to kind of further up the midfield. And we had all said there was no way he'd surely move because he had been so good in the holding role. But O'Reilly yesterday was brilliant. I thought he had a super game. I thought he really he controlled it well. And as well too, the big plaudits for me were, I thought, man, again, that Thiago Holm fella, I thought he looked very comfortable again when he came on. Really, and your man Yang looked like as soon as he got the ball, very direct. Looked good as well. Lovely touch. You know what I mean? I was really impressed with the two boys when they came on. To be fair,
I don't know if did you see that this about Haksabanovic is further off as well.
I was wondering because he wasn't in himself, and Bernabeu weren't in the squad. They weren't in the benches.
I saw somebody talking since why Bernabeu. Who was it? I can't even actually mind who was on the bench now. Terms. But there was a reason that Bernabeu wasn't in the squad, apparently because of some other player that could cover with Scales in the bench.
Scales would have been on the bench, but he can cover full back as well, you see.
I think that's what it was. Somebody said that. But I saw that Haksabanovic, his agents meant to have been told that to try and find him another club, which I'm a bit disappointed in.
That's disappointing. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm disappointed to hear that too.
I thought Haksabanovic, he was one of the players I wanted to do well for us. But I mean, he came out and he's dyed his hair blonde and jumping about. That's all right if you're a superstar and you're playing well and showing off. But you can't be jumping about like that when you're struggling to get a game. Do you know what I mean? And even when you're getting a game, you're not really showing up.
Well,
a problem with his attitude, maybe he's going to be reading between the lines in that.
Must be. Well, like, I mean, and I again, please, I'm not being disrespectful here, but if I was Haksabanovic and James Forrest was getting on ahead of me, I'd be like, I'm in trouble here. And I'm not having a go at James Forrest before anyone says it, but like,
you can't look James Forrest with the trophy and stuff like that, and then look at him on the park terms, man. Do you know? Well, I mean?
Well, that's fair enough. I'm not disputing that, Mark. But I'm saying, like, if you can't even make the bench, like Haksabanovic could make the bench for a couple of positions. Well, he's clearly well down the pecking order, like.
Well, the Korean guy, you'd put him a four-hack. For what we've even seen him in the short wee burst terms, you'd have him a Haksabanovic already, wouldn't you?
Oh, you man, yeah. He's looked very tight. Even his touch, his interplay. You know, he looks very direct. His work like any of the lads, their work rate is through the roof. When he does lose the ball, he tries to get it back as quickly as he can. You know what I mean? And and for the other side of it as well, Mark, he looks like a good sized unit. You know what I mean? He's not a small guy. He looks like he got a bit of build about him, a bit of size about him, which is something that you know that Celtic were hoping for. You know, so no, I said he and the Norwegian lad Holm have definitely been impressive in the few games I've seen him play so far. Anyway.
Aye, at home. I mean, we said the other night as well. He's not come in here to go be like a development project or that. He's part of the first team squad, and I mean, what age is he? Is he even 20 yet? Is he 20? Right, but
I think he's 20. I think.
But he's played for what? He's already 2-3 seasons under his belt playing in Norway.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a. It's not as if it'd be different. We're not talking about somebody for Italy or that, but that's a decent pedigree, in my opinion, terms.
Oh, it's very decent.
Outside, well, definitely Celtic. I don't know about Rangers they know, but the majority, I'd say overall, the Norwegian league would be stronger than the Scottish league.
You would imagine so. You would imagine so. If you saw the list of teams there, you could probably tell them, well, yeah, you know what I mean, Celtic have come a cropper to a couple of them over the time, you know what I mean? So, no, they'd definitely be, and then like, I don't know the lad, I don't know the team that he played for. I'm not sure if it was Ronnie's ex-team or whatever. I don't know, like, he could have sampled, he may not have now, but he could have sampled a bit of European football in Conference League or something like that. Maybe they haven't even qualifying for it, you know what I mean? That's still a taste for Europe, whereas, you know, I'm impressed with him. I mean, you don't worry as much if, not that you want McGregor to be injured, but if McGregor got a bit of a knock and was out for, you know, 1 or 2 games, you'd be comfortable with him in there. Like, he looks very assured on the ball, to be fair. Like,
I mean, it seems to be really, really highly rated. But people that kind of know better than us. I've seen people, like you're saying, he's kind of on the same level as Odegaard and things like that. I mean, people could vote that Martin Odegaard off, and he ended up going to Real Madrid, and it didn't work out for him and stuff like that. But he's at Arsenal now. He's one of the biggest clubs in the world. So I still think he's a cracking player, that Odegaard. I really do. And
he's very good. He's very good. Now, he went to Real Madrid like when he was probably about 17, like 16, 17. You know what I mean?
When we were wanting him, mind Ronnie wanted to bring him in.
For a season or two, yeah. And like, let's be fair about it. Like, you'd want to be a phenomenal talent to get on the Real Madrid team. Normally, you'd want to be like a world beater to be 16 years of age and getting on the Real Madrid team.
Oh, no, he was never getting into the first team or that.
But even in the squad, like.
Aye, but I suppose it's hard to turn down Real Madrid for into if you're sitting there 16-year-old. Not even for the money side of things, but just even say, have that in your CV. Do you know what I mean? Because even we're looking at players, and that's like the young Dutch centre back, that Xavier Mbabaye, as it you pronounce it, and it's like was it Barcelona he was at, and Chelsea or something like that.
Yeah,
so he's got to have something. Do you know what I mean? And it's just one of the players. It's not worked out at the big clubs. He's had to take a wee step down, and he'll still be on to have a right good, solid career.
Oh yeah, listen.
Andy Robertson is another prime example. He's kind of needing to take a step down to progress your career and end up taking it further.
Well, there'll be Mark. You could have a podcast on that alone, going through a list of players that have had to go from a club when they were younger to, and all of a sudden they're different. They're a different guy, you know.
I mean, people still come on the forum and stuff like that, say Celtic should have never let Andy Robertson go. If Celtic had kept Andy Robertson, he wouldn't be the player he was, because he wouldn't have been away playing games with, was it Queen's Park he went to, then Dundee United, then was it Hull or Wigan or something down in England?
Hull, yeah.
So they 2 or 3 years when he was playing, we keep saying it, playing competitive games every week, with likes of Queen's Park, with likes of Dundee United, he's not going to be learning and playing at a level that he would have been playing in Celtic's B team, doing this Lowland League and stuff like that, even the Reserve League back then, even at that time. Oh
yeah, listen, they just look, as I said, Mark, it's in all walks of life. They just didn't think he was good enough for them. I mean, I was slightly off the track. There was always that famous one, apparently, that Ryan Giggs was with Man City, and Man City said, "No, he's not." When he was very young, he was like, "He's not going to make it." And he goes on, and if they named him Man United 11 tomorrow, he'd probably be in the starting 11, the all-time 11. You know what I mean? So, you know, it is what it is. It's easy to say when someone's successful, they should have never released him. You know what I mean? But
I heard somebody saying it on the telly the other day. What was it they said? Hindsight's always 100% correct.
Yeah, and it is. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Like, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Like, if we all knew if, buts, and ends, do you know what I mean? If I knew tonight's lotto numbers for the Euro Millions, I'd be able to do it there Tuesday, and I'd be multi-millionaire. But I don't. Do you know what I mean? If we knew,
you don't need the money anyway.
I don't know. Not this week anyway. You know.
No, this week.
But yeah, you know, and I mean, look, I mean. The main thing is that for me is that Celtic go on from here and just build on it, and I would like to see them, as you said, just sort out 1 or 2 errors. I think even Rodgers after the game himself did mention about, a bit at times losing possession and basically conceding 2 goals. You just got to be rock solid in defence. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few days, because with Starfelt pretty much gone, will they? From what I gather, he is going to go into the market for another centre back.
Well, it seems to he said that himself, but I see all these stories and rumours about Scott McKenna. What do you make of
that? I don't know. The only thing I would say is, yes, I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have rated him massively at Aberdeen, but at the same time, I would say if he's I don't know if he's going to win. He's playing with Forest, is it, or something like that? Is it, or is it
not on Forest? Aye,
yeah. If he's playing with Forest, we don't know how he's developed as a player. He could have stepped up massively. I'm not saying he has. I don't know anything about him.
He get Player of the Year for Forest that year. The year they get promoted, Terence. I just read that today, and I was talking to Mikey about him the other day. Mikey sees him playing for Scotland and says that he's a lot better player now than he was like when he left Aberdeen.
But he's playing with better players in Forest, with the greatest respect to Aberdeen and the whole lot. He's playing with better players at Forest, and he's playing obviously at a higher level. You know what I mean? People would argue at a higher level than a lot of the teams, even in the Scottish Premier League. So look, who knows, Mark? I mean, the one thing you'll have to say is that the scouting department and the powers to be that are doing all this stuff have got more right than wrong in the last 2 years. So you have to trust them and stick with them. I don't think Rodgers or Mark Law or whoever's involved with the scouting department are just going to get someone for the sake of getting someone, because that's clear. That's clear as day up to now, because Celtic have never had the amount of money that they've had available to them to spend on transfers, and yet they're still not just going out for the sake of going out to just go, we'll buy him, and hope one sticks. So who knows, Mark?
But Bobby's saying there as well. I'm sure he was linked when Rodgers was here the first time. I think you're right with that, Bobby, by the way. I mean, we were in for him before he left Aberdeen. Yeah, I'm sure it was Rodgers that Rodgers liked him. It was Rodgers that actually wanted to sign him at that point.
Well, at the same time, Mark, I don't know what his ball playing ability is obviously decent enough. He's with Forest. But for me, like, when you've got centre backs or whatever, first and foremost, you just want them to make sure that they're good defenders. Like if Celtic have 4 good defenders and a good keeper and don't concede, you're never going to lose a game. That's first and foremost. So it's all well and good having all the fancy side of it, but like, people have lambasted Starfelt from the word go because of the first game. But I think people only realise how decent he was when he's gone. Because at the end of the day, this is a guy who's never lost a league game with Carter Vickers. And it's not all Carter Vickers. Like, Carter Vickers isn't Superman either. He's a very, very good defender. But they have a good partnership going. And Starfelt has dug deep on a lot of occasions when things have got nasty or tough, especially in the Glasgow derbies and games away in Ibrox. He stood up to be counted. So, if it's got McKenna coming in, he's going to know the league. You know what I mean? If that's the kind of guy they're going for, he's going to know the league. He's going to know the expectations that's on him. And, but they do need someone. They definitely do need someone.
I don't fancy that Kobayashi at all. I really
No, he's no good. He's no good, Mark. He's no good.
I mean, it's just said about McKenna. He knows the Scottish game. He knows the Scottish League. And he's meant to be a Celtic supporter, so he'll give you that wee bit of extra. Do you know what I mean? And it did well. It would do as a turn in the Scottish League, but would you fancy him stepping up to Champions League or European level at all, really?
Well, the only thing I would say, if he's playing regularly for Scotland, he's playing international football. I understand where you're coming from with the stepping up to the Champions League sort of things. Yeah, I get that, but I mean, Celtic can't afford realistically to go like a guy that plays regular Champions League football. It's going to be very, very hard to attract a guy like that to Celtic in the sense of the bigger sides. You know what I mean? You might be able to go to, as we discussed before, the teams that might be at the level 3 and 4 and try and get one of their fullbacks. You know what I mean? Maybe if some guy with Ajax is there, or Feyenoord or Ghent or someone like that. But you're not going to go to the bigger sides. You know what I mean? Because those players, one won't leave, and two, Celtic probably couldn't afford the transfer fee, and some of the wages as well, because they could be 150 grand a week. Like,
the thing with McKenna as well is I mean, he's playing every week for Nottingham Forest, and we're talking after seeing the Roski and that as well. I said all along I thought he was signed to Starfelt's replacement, and I think that's but it's going to turn out like so. Is McKenna going to leave Nottingham Forest, where he's playing every week, to be kind of fighting out for the third choice position at Celtic?
Again, Mark, that's a very fair point, and it's hard to say. Like, it's very hard to say, because I suppose the only thing a manager can turn around and say to him is, look, you'll get games now. Whether that's true or false, I don't know. But like, if he's playing regularly every week for Forest, then there's going to be a massive side of him that's going to be reluctant to go, because if I'm starting every week and I'm playing championship football, and Celtic have signed a centre back, and they're basically within reason their best player is their centre back.
Aye,
you're kind of going, well, I'm probably not going to get a game like here. So it's a hard one. It's a very, very hard one. I mean, if you're in Scott McKenna's shoes, you'd probably kind of go, maybe not. Maybe I'm happy here. I'm getting first team football. Your Scottish place would be under threat if you were playing with Celtic and you weren't getting a game, or signed with Celtic, and you weren't getting a game. So they're all things that obviously a guy will have to look at. So it's hard, but whoever it is, then
unless it's maybe something like his personal life, maybe his wife wants back up the road, and well, let's face it, Celtic's probably the only team that could afford his wages and stuff like that. And if he's as big a Celtic fan as people say, I don't think he would fancy going to Ibrox, even if they could afford them. So maybe it's a case of needs must or something. Because either that, it's just people putting it, like the fact that somebody, was it Bobby, that put up there, and I think Martin said something about they bid 4 or 5 million for him, meant to be, when he was at Aberdeen. But unless it's just people kind of regurgitating that Rodgers fancied him the last time he was here, for me, I can't really see that being a realistic one, unless there is something like going on behind the scenes that he needs to come up the road for Scotland.
Yeah, well, as I said, that you mentioning it there to me now was the first I've heard of it now, Mark. To be honest, I haven't heard of that obviously since today. Like, so, but look, yeah, that's the only logical one I could see, Mark, is if it's family driven, that they want to come back up home. You know what I mean? And from a sense, he might, if that's the case, this is his one opportunity where he realistically probably won't have to take a pay cut to do it. Whereas anyone else, if he was coming back to Scotland, again, with the greatest respect to them all, he'd have to take a pay cut.
Probably quite a massive pay cut as well, to be fair.
Yeah, if he was going back to the likes of Aberdeen or something like that, I mean, I don't know what he was on in Aberdeen, but maybe if he was on 3,000 or 4,000 a week, I don't know. I'm pure guess now. He might be on more, he might be on less, I don't know. But if he's on 15,000 a week at Forest, you know what I mean, and he had to go back there, 10 or 12,000 a week, no one would do that. You know what I mean? You'd commute or do whatever, but look, time will tell.
I mean, what have we got? 3 weeks left in the window, so it's kind of getting into the business end of it, where it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. No matter what moves we're talking about, a couple of weeks' time it'll all be done and dusted. And I think Celtic still need a bit of work on the squad, for especially getting into the Champions League kind of stages.
Yeah,
the goalkeeper, without heart moan about it, I still think we've won the league with heart and goal, but maybe nobody's comfortable as we'd like it to be with heart and goal, because just the mistakes, they're going to get punished. Do you know what I mean? They're mistakes for goalkeepers. They can't keep getting away with it game in and game out. So it would cost us. But if it comes to Champions League and we're getting into Champions League games with Joe Hart and goal, I'm I'd be fearful for the kind of results we're going to get. To be honest, terms, even if
Yeah.
even if the rest of the players, the game of their life, do you know what I mean, against some of these top teams, and we were maybe girdling by, holding on for a nothing each draw or something like that. Would you trust Joe Hart to be your goalkeeper, not to mess it up for you in the last 2 minutes or something like that? You really wouldn't.
No, I know. Yeah, and where the problem is, you don't want to be going into a match, even in Scotland, with the mentality of, well, if we concede 2, we'll score 5. Because eventually that will catch you. Because if you're going into the Derby match, and in your head you've conceded in the last 10 games in a row, for argument's sake, going into it, or whatever it is, you're going, well, we're going to concede today, so we have to score 2. If we, you know what I mean, we're going to concede at least 1. We have to concede 2. Whereas you want to be going in with the mentality of, we haven't conceded in the last 6 games. There's a good chance we're going to shut out, and we've scored in our last 8 games. So we're on a good one where we're not conceding, and we are scoring. We've a right good chance here today. Whereas if you're constantly conceding, you know, then you're on the back foot. You know what I mean?
There's even one yesterday with him. Was it Chris? Was it Chris Sutton that said it? And I mean, fair dues. We're talking about him coming out and dominating the box and that, but he came out and he punched the ball, whereas he could have just have quite as easily caught it.
Yeah, but
if you're going to, and again, it's doing terms. 99 times out of 100, you'll punch the ball and it'll go miles out the goal, away from the goal. But there's that one out of 100 where you go to punch it and you miss punch it and it just lands. Do you know what I mean? And the next time,
yeah, it's like a glancing header. Very like a glancing header, like yeah.
Aye, it's just I've said that it just seems it's the weakest department in the full squad for me, because there's not really a good goalkeeper in the squad anymore out of the 3 of them, isn't there?
No, the strength and depth is poor on that side of it. You know what I mean? And like, as I said, Joe Hart is making a few more errors than he has been, and maybe Father Time has come up to him, like as JFP said before with the McGregor scenario. Seagrass, with the greatest respect, mind won't be on it because he wants out of there, which is understandable as well. So then that leaves you with Scott Bain. So, you know, Celtic need to be very, very careful that they don't get, as the term would be, caught with their pants down. That they let it run till the end of the transfer window. Seagrass, then obviously things get sorted and he's out of there, and all of a sudden you've got Joe Hart and Scott Bain as your 2 keepers. You know, you can have Paulo Maldini as your centre back, and you're still going to be in trouble.
Aye, I mean, do you think how much an effect do you think it's having on the players? Because the players must see this as well. And we know he's popular in the dressing room, he's a big character and he's well liked and he's one of the boys and stuff like that, but still, he's
big factor.
He needs to kind of just, do you know what I mean? I don't know how to put it without actually slagging the guy off to death, do you know what I mean? But it just seemed to be the weakest link in the full team, you know? It's just, I suppose, if you're the centre-backs,
and at his
age, he's not getting better. At his age, it's not as if the centre-backs like that, oh, you're just going for a wee bad patch. We'll work together and protect him a wee bit more during the games and stuff like that. Because at his age, it's not a bad patch. It's just his career winding down, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's, as I said, it's Father Time waits for no man, you know what I mean? And it's just things that he thought 2 years ago he could do, all of a sudden he might be that little bit slower to react to this, or that little bit slower to react to that. And in the normal daily life, you probably don't see it too much. If you know, whatever it is, you're like, oh God, been down for something. You go, Jesus, I'm getting old, I can't get up and down for that.
Aye.
Whereas he's in the focal point. He's a Celtic keeper. And like everything else, if you're a keeper and you make a mistake, 7, 8 times out of 10, it normally leads to a goal. You know, whereas if you're a forward and you're just off the boil and you're processing bad, or you're just not able to have the legs to tackle or whatever, and blah blah blah. Yeah, you'll be shown up and you can be subbed off or subbed in. You very rarely you see a goalkeeper being subbed off or subbed in. You know?
No, unless unless they're injured, into goalkeepers don't really get subbed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm quite confident we'll sign a new keeper. I really am. Whether it's the Croatian Lavakovic, whether it's him or somebody else, I don't know. The more time goes on, he's still no signed for somebody. I'm still hopeful that he's going to decide to come to us. But even if it's no him, I think if we can see it, we're talking about it. The media's talking about it. All the fans on social media's talking about it and stuff like that. So the people at Celtic will know that Joe Hart's time's at an end as the first choice keeper, and whether he wants to stay on and help settle the new guy in, be a bit part player, maybe get the cup games this year or whatever, that'll be up to Joe Hart. But for me, his time at Celtic as a number one came to a close now.
Yeah, well, more importantly as well, Mark, for me, it's and that's a very fair point, an accurate point. But for me as well, it's a transition. You want the transition to be smooth. You don't want. I don't want to be a case where it comes where Joe Hart goes from being, the Joe Hart that we all know and has played solid for Celtic to all of a sudden just going plummeting right down to being absolute nightmare stuff. I'd rather have the second straight, a new keeper in there that can learn from the likes of Joe Hart. Like, listen, at the end of the day, the guy's 75 caps from England. He's played Champions Leagues. He's won Premier Leagues. He's experienced through the roof, like, and he could guide a guy in a younger guy like that, the Croatian lad. Even though I know he's an international as well, but he could learn from Joe Hart, who's that extra years on him and little things, and make the transition over a bit smoother. And if you need a Joe Hart to come in, if you might knock in 3 months' time, you might be a bit more confident that Joe Hart coming in. Well, I would be. You'd be a lot more confident Joe Hart coming in than Scott Bain coming in.
Oh, aye, 1,000,000%. I'd be more happy if they brought Peter Latchford in than Scott Bain.
I know,
a really weird one that Scott Bain stayed with Celtic and got a new contract and stuff like that. I don't know whether it's something to do with the homegrown ruler or stuff like that. But it's just I really I question players that are quite happy to sit on the bench and just take money turns. No matter what club they're at. I question their kind of ambition, especially when you're getting to the later stages of your career.
Oh, but I suppose, listen, Scott Bain has been there since when? Was it Lennon? It was Lennon, wasn't it?
Was it Lennon?
Because I remember he basically came in for the Ibrox game, was nearly his first game.
Aye, it would be Lennon.
He actually played quite well. And but what I'm saying is, he's come in from Lennon. But like, I get what you're saying, but he's probably sitting there going, well, I'm getting, I don't know how much he's getting a week. Maybe 7-8 grand a week. I'm just guessing. But if he's done that, or if he's getting 5 or 6 grand a week, he knows, well, if I go to anywhere else in Scotland, and again, within reason, what's he going to get? Like, he might get, if he goes back to, if he was at the Dundee United.
It was Rodgers that brought Bain in.
Was it Rodgers, was it?
Aye.
Okay, it was Rodgers. Cool. Well, what I'm saying is, like, I mean, he's looking at it going, well, I have a contract and I'm going to have this for the next 2 years or 3 years, and I'm going to get 8 grand a week. I'm not going to get that anywhere else. I'm quite content to be Celtic's third choice keeper, and if you don't kick a ball, what? But he might be looking at it, Mark, for his family and stuff, going, you know what? I make this and I make it a comfortable life. What's the point in me at my age going to play for St. Johnson or Dundee or Dundee United or whatever it is, and they can only give me maybe 1,200, 1,500 a week? Again, I don't know the finances. I'm just making up figures in case anyone say anything different. You know what I mean? So I can understand the reasons with it, Mark. There's a lure as well of it there as well. You know what I mean? So. But look, it is what it is. And as I said, Celtic probably are happy for him to stay there as well, because they kind of tick the box for, well, we have a Scottish keeper on the bench. Not going to get on, but we have him on the bench for the homegrown side of things.
Well, I think that rule's still in place that you need to name two sub-keepers on the bench, isn't it? I think that's still in place for UEFA games and that.
Yeah, but that's again but that's all the more reason that Celtic need to get that side of things fixed, because if Siegrist does go after the window, and he probably could be entitled to go because they might just terminate the contract and he might head away, you're leaving yourself very, very short in that position.
Just reading what they're saying there about Rocco Vat in the chat there. I think Rocco Vat will be away, if not this window, probably next summer's probably a definite, really.
He's just Torino or something, is it?
Aye, but he's just changed his agent as well, Terence. Many times have I said that's a red flag, that if a player changes his agent, there's a
sure sign.
Aye, there's a move on the way kind of thing.
Yeah.
What about Hatate? What's your take on what's happening with him?
I'd say he's not happy.
I'll be surprised if he's still here with Terence when the window shuts.
Yeah, you've said that now a few times, and I'd have to agree. I'd have to agree with you, Mark, because I mean, I think that was kind of mentioned at some stage, something to Rodgers about Hatate or something, and I think he kind of was mentioning it. He said that was last year, this is this year, something like that. I heard something like that. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, I mean, even in the friendlies he's played, he hasn't looked like the Hatate of old. Like, I mean, even his goal against Bilbao was like directly from a big mistake that he did. It was a no-look pass and in the middle of the park, and your man just controls a great finish. But yeah, no, like someone made a very valid point as well. There's no doubt he's been offered a new contract, because Maeda's got a new contract and Kyogo's got a new contract.
McGregor got a new contract.
Yeah. So there's no way they didn't offer Hatate a new contract, with the other two Japanese lads in particular after being offered a contract. Now, I know they have these 3 years to run, but if the other boys are happy to sign and he's not happy to sign, does he want off? Because I know I've seen his name linked with the Saudi side of things as well, and all sorts. You know what I mean? So I don't know how real or unreal that is, because it's all so high in the sky. So
on you go there.
No, work away, go on.
I've just got to say, the guy himself came out and I mean, fair dues. I've said this before. I don't mind players coming out and saying this, like, "Oh, my ambition's to go and play for Man United or just to play in the Premier League or play in Italy or whatever." And he's come out himself and said that his aims to playing at the top leagues. And if he wants to move, as long as we get top dollar for him, honestly, I've not got any problem at all with Hatate leaving, as long as we get top money for him and we get a replacement in, or again, I'm just putting this out there. I've already got his replacement in. Is Rodgers tell Turnbull Hatate's leaving? That jersey's yours to win. I've saying to the wee Norwegian guy, look, he's leaving, but there's a jersey in this team up for grabs. So it's up to you and Turnbull to figure out who's starting that. But
Mark, you're going in and out now. You're whether it's the wife, I think you're kind of losing signal. I can't hear you for a few seconds, and then you come back in, and then you go back out and come back in.
Right. Okay. Is that any better? I'll keep.
No, that's perfect now. That's perfect now. It was kind of going in and out now and again, but no, it's fine now. But no, yeah, I thank you, Mark. But I said this the other night, and any player in the Celtic team that doesn't want to be there, fine, no problem with it. Like, if you want to move on, no problem with it. When Celtic get good money for you, best wishes, there you go. I'd rather, if Celtic haven't learned anything in the under Lennon's last tenure, that year going for 10 in a row, it's keeping unhappy players. And if you keep unhappy players, you see what could happen. And it was the Celtics' detriment in the end. You had players that didn't want to be there, they didn't get on with the manager, they didn't work for the team, and it all went very, very sour. Whereas you look at the model that they have now, Marcus wasn't too happy, looking for a move, no problem, thanks very much. Jay, probably the same, wanted to go, thanks very much, all the best. You know, and the manager didn't want to be there anymore. Okay, good luck, bye. Another guy in. I don't mind. I don't mind in regards to the players. If a player wants to move on and they think I should be playing at a better level, a higher level, or Jotas or whoever it was, yeah, look, all the best. Take care. When Celtic get good money for you, I'm happy. Celtic cannot let themselves get in the situation where they have unhappy players in the squad, in the sense that they want to move. There's always going to be unhappy players because guys want to be playing and they're not playing. But I'm predominantly talking about if a guy wants to move and you can get the right money for him, let him go. Because they could have done it with Starfelt. They could have said to Starfelt, you're not going. But what use is Starfelt to Celtic if he's in a huff and he's not putting it in training, not doing anything, not doing what he's supposed to be doing, his mind's not in it. Let them go and let them go with the best wishes. Get someone in that wants to be there.
Evening, Campsy. Nice to see you. You're a bit late. Don't know. Need a note for your wife or that to see where you were for earlier, man. Coming in at this time of night, an hour late.
Shocking.
Aye.
I'll let you sort it out, Mark, all right?
Where's the love and devotion, Campsy? An hour late, mate. Come on. Get a finger out.
You chastise him next time you see him, Mark, right?
No, man, you want to see the size of him, turn, man.
That's why I said it. He can use you as a dumbbell.
But you can't, I mean, people, you see that on social media and on the forum, people saying, oh, they're under contract, so we're no selling them. But you can't force a player to stay when they're that unhappy. I mean, there's players that will say, look, if I can get a move, I'm going to look at my options come the summer and stuff like that and play fair with the club. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. But you can't keep players that blatantly have said, look, I want out of here. I've told my agent to look for another club for me and I want to move. I mean, even down to their staff felt right. They're saying he's moved to there, it's closer to his woman and stuff like that. You've got to think of things like that as well. Do you know what I mean? He's moved. He's been looking for a move. He wanted to play in a higher level of league. That's what he told Celtic like before Christmas. He wanted to take a step up in his career, which is fair enough. But now his girlfriend's away out of Europe playing in that. So you can understand even why he's doubled down and said, right, I'm off. Whether Celtic wanted to keep him or not, that guy's basically said he didn't want to be at Celtic anymore because he wants to up his game, which he told them 7-8 months ago, and he wants to move so that he's near his other half. Fair dues. Right, you let them go. You can't imagine, as you said there, we just turned around and said, oh, we're not selling you. How he's not got his girlfriend out here, he's at a club he doesn't want to be at, he's not even got a girlfriend out here or things like that. Do you know what I mean? And as long as they're kind of, I mean, I don't mean be honest with the fans and come out with all the bleeding heart birthday card pish, as we call it and that, but be honest about, it's like I've said, I don't know how many times I've said that, oh, you read that, not just players like about Scotland. You still there?
Right. I thought I got knocked off there. Sorry, but I thought I got knocked off. Sorry.
No. It's not even as that. I see, like when players come out and say, oh, I want to move and play for a Champions League club. You're like, well, no, you don't really, because you could come to Celtic and play in the Champions League for 30 a week. You want wages that are the Champions League big clubs. You want 150, 200 grand a week wages. So it's nothing to do with playing in the Champions League and stuff. It's the money side. That's what gets my goat when players come out with stuff like that. See if they just come out and say, look, I want to go and play in a better league. Fair dues. It's like, I mean, Yacht's away to Saudi Arabia. That's not a great league, but you get serious money for it. So you can't blame him for turning that kind of absolute. His full generations, his family's life has been changed with the money he's going to be getting out there, whether they put him out on loan to somebody or no.
Oh, I fully agree. And in fairness, Mark, there's been, like, as I said, I have no problem with that kind of aspect where a player goes, I want to go play in a bigger league and the whole lot. And yes, we've had that argument before about the Champions League. It's players want more money. I have no problem with the other side of it as well. When you had, remember Kelvin Wilson wanting to go back home to Notts Forest.
Aye. But Terence, you've went quiet, mate.
Have I?
You keep cutting off. You keep cutting off. You keep cutting off to me, Terence. Go and log out and log back in again, bud.
Right, will do.
Are we intermission? I don't know where Jabber is, Campsy. I've not heard from him all day. I sent him a message earlier. I don't know whether he's maybe a bit under the weather and rough for yesterday's excursions because Welsh and that were blitzed out their minds. I don't know what kind of Nick Jabber was in. You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Aye, I can hear you now, mate.
Yeah. But like I don't have it, as I said, like you have Starfelt's situation, you have Seagrass' situation. There's different situations that guys might want to move for personal reasons, family reasons, and guys want to, like, as I said, if a guy's got an offer to go up to, for argument's sake, to somewhere in Spain, you can't argue the point there to them, or Italy or something like that, bigger leagues. Within reason. But I'm the same as you, Mark. We had this argument or discussion here before, I should say. Someone said, I want to go to Champions League club. It's not Champions League club, it's Champions League wages.
Aye.
Yeah.
I mean, you could move to Norway. Do you know what I mean? You could move to like Rosenborg or something like that. Do you get into the Champions League?
Ghent.
Do you know what I mean? There's all these. It's no that's what it's all. It all comes down to the kind of money. I know it ups their profile and stuff like that, but for me, it all comes right down to money.
Of course. Listen, it's all, everything is money, market in that side of it. Everything is money. You don't think all these guys have gone to Man City because it's Man City. They've gone to these guys because they're owned by probably a trillionaire, if not a multi-billionaire. That's why they're at Man City, because Man City can go, well, I can give you 250,000 a week. I can give you 300,000 a week. That's why they're there. They're like, all those boys, the great respects to Haalands and to De Bruyne's and all the rest of the guys that are there playing with them. They're not playing with Man City. They wouldn't be playing with Man City of 20 years ago.
No,
they wouldn't even consider going. They wouldn't even consider going to Man City. They're at Man City because Man City can pay them astronomical wages, and that's it. And that's
just like Saudi Arabia's doing now. Good night, Brian. Thanks very much for coming in again, mate. Nice to see you.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, Mark, that's why in Scotland you might have the better Scottish players playing with the likes of a Celtic or with the likes of the Rangers, the better players, because more money. The Hearts or the Aberdeens or the Dundees or Dundee Uniteds, they can't compete with Celtic on the wage structure that Celtic have. Celtic can pay, for argument's sake, Callum McGregor might be on, say, 40 grand a week. For argument's sake. Like, there would be a player in the rest of the Barn Rangers, all the other clubs, there won't be anyone within a country mile of that kind of a wage. So they do it in Scotland with Celtic and Rangers would with their wages. So it's a similar, but like those players are playing with those big clubs for money, and that's the reason they want to go to those clubs. And look, it's probably short. They might argue it's a short career. Look, fair enough. But once Celtic get a good fee for any player that wants to leave, I'm happy with that. I don't mind. Let them go. Once I don't want to be there.
Try and replace them with better.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the kind of key. I mean, look at it. I mean, the Juranovic deal. I think that was one of the best bits of business Celtic's done in a while, getting rid of Juranovic and replacing him with AJ.
Oh yeah, but even
I don't think anybody would disagree. Juranovic was a good player, but AJ's in a different level for even Juranovic.
Oh, he is. He offers so much more. He's an exceptional player. You're just and like, I mean, if you look at even the Starfelt one, Starfelt's away for personal reasons and best wishes to him. But Celtic have been right. They haven't stood in his way, and they've got your man Rocky in before he's even gone.
Aye.
It's good business by Celtic. Good business, because they clearly knew that Starfelt wanted off maybe a month ago or whatever, longer. You know what I mean? Understandably, once his partner's gone down to Portugal, you know what I mean? He's going to be wanting to head down that neck of the woods.
So I'll just take a wee drink here, Terence.
No, you're right.
As long as we see I said it to you the other night, Terence. The only player that I think is irreplaceable, and even if we're starting 11, is Cal McGregor.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean, even Carter Vickers. Right, Carter Vickers is a great player for us. I'm not denying that. But with the right amount of money getting spent, you could improve on Carter Vickers. With the right amount of money getting spent, you could improve on Kyogo. Do you know what I mean? As long as it would cost a lot of money to replace them with better players, but that's what I'm saying. But they're no irreplaceable apart from McGregor to me.
Yeah.
I've said it to you before. I've said it 100 times. McGregor for me could play for any top team across Europe. He's just that good a footballer, I think, Cal McGregor. But every other position at Celtic for me could be improved on. Doesn't mean I'm bad mouthing any players, you know what I mean? As I said, Carter Vickers is great for us, one of the best defenders we've had in a long time. But we could upgrade on him. It might cost us, if we sell Carter Vickers, I don't know, say £25 million, it maybe cost us £25 million to replace him with a better player, but he is replaceable. But again, it all comes down to like money and the levels and the market that you're shopman and things like that.
Oh, fully agree. But I said it there last year, Mark, when Celtic were playing in the Champions League, and exclude Real Madrid from this discussion for obvious reasons. But in the two other teams we were playing, Donetsk and Leipzig, the argument would be, how many Celtic players will get on their side? How many dare players will get on the Celtic side? And it would be an awful lot top heavy there coming in Celtic than Celtic going to them.
Aye, that's a good point there.
And that's just to reiterate your point. All these players can be replaced because there are, as I said, the reason the players are playing with Leipzig is because they're good enough to play with Leipzig. The reason the players are playing with Real Madrid is because they're good enough to play with Real Madrid. The reason that there's players playing with Celtic is they're at Celtic standard. Some of them might be over, or some of them might be above it. Yes, I understand that, but I'm just trying to make a point and a kind of an argument in it that, like, there's a reason players play with certain levels, and there's players playing with Celtic because they're at Celtic's level or they're progressing past Celtic's level. You know, but to go to your point, every one of them could be replaced. Everyone bar McGregor, which is the obvious one, all the rest of them could be replaced. And that's the way I would describe it very, very simply. If you had the Shakhtar Donetsk guys and you had the Leipzig guys there, how many guys from Celtic would get into their side and how many of their guys would get into the Celtic side? And I'd be a lot more of their guys in the Celtic side than Celtic players on their side.
That big Mudryk boy, I thought he really caught my eye for the.
Is that the Leipzig guy?
Aye.
He's gone for massive money, isn't he?
Aye, he's a bit. Is it Chelsea he went to?
Yeah, he's gone for someone like that. He's Premier League, but he's gone for astronomical money. But he was a holding midfielder. He was a holding midfielder that apparently we don't need a holding midfielder in Champions League football. So
Mudryk was the big left winger guy.
Is that the Ukrainian guy? Or the Shakhtar Donetsk guy, is it?
Aye, Shakhtar, Chelsea. Aye, Mudryk, was it Shakhtar Donetsk he was with? I thought it was Leipzig he was with.
No, if it's the blondie kind of fell up front, it's Shakhtar Donetsk.
Right. Aye, but
I know that. Yeah, he was very good in fairness, Mark.
Aye.
But I'm sorry, I was going to say that.
Just to answer Campsey there. I'm not saying that about Carter Vickers, but it maybe costed £20 million to replace him, but he's not like the be all and end all centre half. Do you know what I mean?
See, Carter Vickers is an excellent player. He's an excellent player for Celtic. Really, really, really good, solid player for Celtic. But I think people get slightly carried away. Yeah, but people get slightly carried away with it as well, Mark, in the sense that, like, I like Carter Vickers, and again, I'm only critiquing the guy. Carter Vickers was on loan 7 times. So he's been around a lot of times. He suits Celtic. He suits the Scottish game. He suits the way Celtic play. He's really, really good at that. If you stuck him in a Spurs team or stuck him in another side outside of Scotland, would he be as good? Who knows? Maybe he will, maybe he wouldn't. But for me, he's had 7 loan deals. He's been with Spurs a long time. No one has gone and said, okay, we want to buy him. Celtic are the only side to my know.
I don't think Carter Vickers will ever make it like a top team for a simple reason. His height, that's what puts a lot of the bigger teams off him. When he was even leaving Spurs, that was putting a lot of them off his height. They just don't think he's good enough in there at the top level.
And that's what I'm trying to say, Mark. I'm not criticising Carter Vickers by any stretch of imagination, but I just think Carter Vickers as a player suits Celtic.
Aye.
He suits the way Celtic plays, and he suits the football up here because he's always on the front foot, predominantly in games. You know, he's a very, very good player. But yeah, it's like that. Carter Vickers is probably 6'1", maybe 2, maybe 6'1" or 2. I wouldn't say he's taller than that. If he's even that,
I don't think he is that tall.
If he, how dare you call me Paul? If he is even that,
I didn't call you Paul. I says I don't think he's that tall.
Oh, I thought you called me Paul. Oh, that's all right, sir. No, what I'm saying, yeah, he might be. So, like down in the Premier League, in particular, you probably 6'5", like 6'3", 6'4".
6'1", 6'1". It's doing his turns 1.85 meters, which isn't that big. I mean, that's only my height.
We're not going to get into height now, Mark. All right?
No, I was going to say that would be double used.
Probably would, to be fair. Get Paul back on. I want to talk about here.
My wee leprechaun.
Get Paul back on. We talk about here. Take this off me. But no, like I mean, as I said, like I don't know, all the players that Celtic have are playing with Celtic because they're at Celtic's level. As I said, players might progress and go further field. Like you could see AJ moving on, for argument's sake. You know, you might see that the young midfielder lad, that Hum fella, if he plays for Celtic for a while, he might move on. Not necessarily to a bigger league, but they might move on to another team of Celtic's level or maybe slightly ahead of Celtic. It depends, but yeah, I don't know. Time will tell. But to replace any of the players in the squad, bar McGregor, I fully agree with you, Mark. They're all replaceable. Every one of them.
I mean, it's just, and we're saying that before people pounce on it. We're not saying we want them replaced. We're just meaning if
they can be.
Aye, and it comes back. See what we're just talking about their terms. It comes back down to money. Do you know what I mean? If we're shorting about for a centre back, we cut Carter Vickers for $6.5 million. If you're shorting about for a centre back and willing to pay 10 million, do you know what I mean? You're going to get a higher kind of, step them up a level with who you're looking at.
But that's in the walk of life, Mark. If you go and pay 20,000 for a car, and then you're willing to pay 45,000 for a car, 45,000 car is going to be better than 20,000 car. It's just
aye.
You know, it's value. It's it's and obviously in the football terms, if you buy a centre back and he's 15 million, and you buy a centre back and he's 3 million, you know, there's a reason your man is 15 million. Or there's reason when these guys shine in the Champions League or shine in World Cups that all of a sudden, or in as much as people don't like it, if guys are down playing in Premier Leagues, and like that guy that was linked with Celtic, that Japanese fella before that went to Brighton, he's now valued at something like 80 million or something like that. 60 or 80 million. But if he was at Celtic and he was playing out of his skin as good as that, he's probably valued at 15 million. Because it's you know, it's
the market.
Yeah, it's because he's in the Premier League, or he's in whatever it, mainly the Premier League, which is the closest, obviously, that you can say, well, he's performed at this high level, he's worth X, Y, and Z. Well, he's played really well at Celtic, but it's not my terms, their terms, yeah, but it's Scotland and it's blah blah blah. Yeah, well, look, we might pay 12 million from 15 million maximum. Do you know? So, well, I don't know. It's one of those things.
It's hard. I mean, we were saying earlier on there, Terence, about like the Saudis, the way Saudis are throwing money about. But the English market, you can throw the likes of your Real Madrid and Barcelona into it. You can throw your Bayern Munich into it. But apart from these kind of teams, there's it's a different level altogether. Do you know what I mean? As soon as these kind of teams are interested in a player, the money skyrockets. It's like their Starfield, right? I don't know. People are saying he's gone for just like £4.5 million. I can't see that, to be honest, right? Other people are saying it's like £9 million. kind of deals. But that's him going to Celta Vigo. But see if he was going to Brighton or Crystal Palace or something like that, you're looking for £10 million, £12 million, because you know that league, there's more money in the league. You can expect more money in a transfer fee off them and stuff like that. You know, you've got to look at the actual teams that are buying the player as well.
But the prices are automatically inflated. It's like if Celtic go and buy a Scottish player. They might, the Kevin Nesbitt one is a prime example. People say, should be going for an outside.
John McGinn.
Yeah, John McGinn, yeah. But they're going, right, it's where he's going to wherever it is for Millwall or Aston Villa for 3 million, or he's going there for 1.5 million. Celtic should go from, but then it's like, okay, Celtic going from, okay, there's a Celtic tax on that. That guy now that was 3 million, he's 5 million to ye.
Because this is a player that you're selling to a rival.
Yeah, and that's the way they look at it.
Aye, Hibs selling John McGinn to us is strengthening. I know, well, they're not really what you'd call a rival as such. We're not going to challenge for the league.
But they're in the same league, though.
Aye,
they could knock him out of a cup. John McGinn could score a last-minute goal and knock him out of a cup, like.
There's always that kind of extra taxation or whatever you want to call it if you're selling to like your rival, and a lot of that even comes into the Champions League. The teams that are looking to win the Champions League, you can even see it when they're selling players to each other. Do you know what I mean? The kind of crazy prices that they're getting spoke about, like the Mbappe money, for Mbappe going to Real Madrid and stuff like that on a free transfer. And
well, Declan Rice saw was 100 and something million from West Ham to Arsenal. You know, but like it was really long to get done because West Ham now, well, we're selling probably our best player to a London rival, not let alone a Premier League rival, but a London rival. So he wants to go. We've no choice, but by God, we might sell him to Bayern Munich for 70 million, but he's going to them for 100 million. We're going to bleed. We're going to bleed them for every penny we can get out of them. You know, so it's understandable. Like,
I mean, it kind of sticks in your craw. I've said it to you before, Terence. I can remember in the olden days coming in. I must have come in for work or something like that. And the first thing you done was look up teletext. Right?
I remember that, yeah.
Right, and the lead story was Roy Keane had signed a new contract at Man United on 50 grand a week, and that was unbelievable money. Do you know what I mean? That was absolutely astronomical money. And when you look at it now, and players getting 250 grand a week and stuff like that, morally, is it right? It's a personal opinion. I don't think it's right, but you can't fault the players for taking it, and you can't fault the clubs for paying it if they can afford it. It's like we said, it's becoming, these big clubs now are all becoming like a kind of like a willy showing contest between all these Saudi Arabian princes and sheikhs and stuff like that. With your Man City's there, they've took your Newcastle, PSG, stuff like that, and it's become a plaything for these guys that can afford to. I mean, it's not as if these guys that are going to Saudi Arabia and getting 300 and 700 grand a week, they're not going to bankrupt. There's no chance of their owners going bankrupt or going bust or anything like that. These guys, that's just pennies to these guys. So if that's what they want to spend their money on, then who are we to tell them they're not allowed to?
Oh yeah, listen, and that's it. And you know, I mean, they're like, people are saying about the Saudi leagues and all that, and the players and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But you can't critique that side of it and then go, it's okay what's going on in Man City, or it's okay what's going on in PSG, or it's okay what's going on in Liverpool, or it's okay what's going on in Man United. It's the same thing, like.
Here's one. I said this to Mike earlier on, right? All this stuff, right? Players are going out to Saudi Arabia, and there's all this uproar about Jordan Henderson after these rainbow laces and stuff like that on, and all the human rights, right? But I mean, the Premier League, they've been away like crying to FIFA because the Saudis have put their nose out of joint because they're splashing all this money, right? But right, what if a player say Man United went to sign some big massive star for European game or whatever, and they turned around and done that? Oh no, I'm not moving to England. Look at what the Tories are doing.
Oh, no, yeah.
No, but what's the difference? What would be the reaction to that? Is that see if Jordan Henderson had come out and says, I mean, Mbappe's meant to have said turned them down just because I don't know whether his lifestyle or whatever they've caused a bit of a problem for him, I think. But if Jordan Henderson came out and said, no, I'm supporting LBGT for CP3O community thing, and so I'm not want to go to Saudi Arabia for moral stuff, I just don't agree with his stuff and all that, he'd have been applauded as a pure hero down in England. But if a guy came out and says, I'm not moving to England, look how many Waynes are starving down in England under the Tories. Look, do you know what I mean? There'd be an absolute uproar over that. So what's the difference?
But sure, look, I slightly at the point to an extent, but like, look at, for argument's sake, James McLean.
2 seconds there.
Okay.
That's what good night, William. Thanks very much for coming in again, mate. Nice to see you. Hail. The James McLean thing.
Yeah, I know it's not a move, but like, look at the James McLean stance. He comes from obviously in Derry. He has his own opinions, and he doesn't want to wear whatever particular emblem, and he gets absolutely terrorized for it. So I'm just kind of trying to compare the like, and they're using human rights to say that these lads over there shouldn't be allowed to do it. But that's all well and good. But no one has said anything about the owners of PSG. Do you know that's where the World Cup was at? There was huge issues about human rights out there and the way the workers were being treated and how many of them died making the stadiums and allegedly and all this. So I don't know how right or wrong it is, and I use allegedly just in case anyone thinks I'm saying anything differently. But there's no one has an issue with them being the owners of PSG.
No.
It's been selective. It's been very, very selective. We won't give out about that because that we like that, and they're pumping a load of it and they're sound, they're nice guys. But no, this is, someone's after pissing in my tea here. Like, I'm not happy about this. I'm not happy about this, so I'm going to complain about this. I'll leave that one off. I'll complain about that because it's going to affect us. That one's okay. They're grand. They're nice lads, and we'll complain about that one. Rather than a blanket say, well, what's the difference between what they're doing and what you're doing and what they're doing? None.
Aye.
No difference. Like,
what you're saying there, it's just like you'll select what you're going to moan about because it suits your argument.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Like.
While ignoring your own faults.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, you can't argue about saying that Benzema or Kante or Ronaldo or whoever's gone over there and the crowd have gone, come to us, we'll give you 300 million, 200 million, 400 million, whatever it's millions. And everyone's going, that's a joke, that shouldn't be allowed. But Mbappe's able to go to Paris Saint-Germain for like, what's it, 300 million at the time or some obscene or 150 million or 200 million. And everyone went that.
Plus his wages makes it up to the 300 odd million stuff. Nobody
batted an eyelid about that one. They had Neymar, Mbappe, and the Uruguayan fellow was sent forward as well. Like when they played Celtic there.
Messi as well.
Messi was there. Do David Thiago, the Brazilian captain, the centre back guy, is it Thiago or something like that? He was a. But what I'm saying is, you can't be selected. That's all okay. But then players go, and that's wrong. There's no way they should be going out there. There's this problem out there, and there's that problem, and they don't like this, and they don't like that, and they don't like. You're just going like, well, I'll pick what I don't like, and what I do like, I'll just leave that aside because they're fine. They're nice guys because they're in one of the top 5 leagues, or they're in this one, or they're no one's giving out about the guys who won Man City, that they're able to pump in billions into Man City. I'm not saying that they've done anything wrong, the guys who won Man City at all, but I'm just saying people are being selective because the guys over there have decided they're going to pump in as much money as they physically want to and get the best players in their leagues that they want to. And all of a sudden, it's annoying people who've been doing predominantly the same thing for the last I don't know how many years.
I can see them maybe. Mind there was a talk of that kind of European Super League, I don't. I mean, if for me, it's still a bit of a big if for this kind of Saudi Arabian league. I don't know what kind of longevity is it?
Longevity. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but
Longevity,
apparently
aye.
not. But apparently, Matt, I saw something, and again, I always use allegedly in case anyone says anything differently. Allegedly, I saw a thing where it said that they have another 215 years before the oil is gone.
Aye.
215 years or 50 years before the oil is, they can pump it for another that length of time before they think it might be gone. Man, that's some amount of money, like that's some amount of oil. Do you know what I mean? So these boys,
I was reading a thing
ain't going anywhere. Like,
I was reading a thing as well, and it was they were talking, and it's like they're relaxing like a lot of the laws. I was reading a thing yesterday saying that there's some whoever I don't know, is it a king they've got or whatever, but he's an old guy and he's not keeping too well, and the son's running the place now, and he's got a bit of. He's extremist. No, he's extreme. He's thinking of relaxing certain laws, and he's already done it. There's certain places that you can buy alcohol in and stuff like that, and things. He's wanting to try and make the place a bit more like Dubai. Do you know what I mean? Where the Westerners can go there and still kind of lead a pretty normal life, but still stay within the confines of like respecting other people and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I imagine there will be. Like, so there'd be a lot of expats, Mark, in those countries where like in the Dubai's and those places and Bahrain and that, there's a lot of expatriates living out there from all different, countries and creeds and religions. So, for argument's sake, over the European side, like with the drink, like the lads might want a few drinks, and you'll find that there'll be social areas, social clubs where you can go and you can get a drink. Yeah, but at the same time, you'll be told, listen, if you're walking down the street falling all over the place, you're going to be arrested.
Aye. But aye.
Or you can't be walking down the street and pissing on the side of a shop or something like that, or whatever it is, because or fighting or anything that goes over in those places, you will get in trouble, which is understandable and no harm in it either, to be honest.
Was that Jack Kendry, his wife or girlfriend, whatever it was, partner, she seems to be some kind of social media. I don't want to say OnlyFans or that, but I think she's like an Instagram or influencer kind of person. But she's always like posing with like the latest. Obviously, she's got fashion deals, so she's got like swimsuits and stuff like that. But she needs to stay somewhere, and it's like she's like 2 miles over the border for whatever it is he's signed for. Because what she does on the internet, the new she couldn't get away with actually in the country, so she's just a wee bit over the border, the new.
Yeah, we'll see.
Sorry, Tara. But again, that's one of the things. If you're looking to move over there, I mean, it's like, can you imagine Paddy McCourt moving out to Saudi Arabia? You know what I mean? Guy, but do you know what I mean? If you're the type of player that likes to go play your game on a Saturday and go out for a bevy, do you know what I mean? You're not going to go over there. If your wife's a page 3 model or OnlyFans star or whatever you want, you're not going to move her there, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you see, there's
that kind of thing.
Oh, they're all massive things, because in those countries, you're going over there, you have to respect their way of life.
Aye.
Their way of life is, they're predominantly very, very little alcohol. Majority in cases no alcohol, but I'm saying in certain areas, all that side of. I don't mean that Jack Henry's missus, she's in bikinis and all that. All that stuff is very kind of, very, very delicate over there. There's certain things you have to be very, very careful with over there. That's not over here. It's very taboo over there. Whereas over here, it's in a sense second nature. Do you know what I mean? There'd be stuff over there that just wouldn't be taken on board at all. Like, you know what I mean? And again, look, you go to those countries to live there. One of the first things you should be doing is going, okay, what's the culture? What's right? What I can do, what I can't do. Like, I mean, those countries, Mark, you couldn't even bring a deck of cards into the image in your bag in the airport. Like, it'd be taken off you. Like,
could you know because that bad?
No, because they deem it as gambling, and you can't gamble.
I thought they owned racehorses and all that.
They do own racehorses, but they deem it if you, when I was over in that neck of the woods and I was going into Bahrain, they'd tell you go into the list and things like obviously the magazines, the horror magazines. If you had them in your bag or you had a deck of cards or any of those things, they have to be handed up. Apparently it's to do with dealing with like illegal gambling or stuff like that. I don't know the general bits and pieces, but again, the Mark, to go to all the other side of it, you're talking about the horse race and all that. They're all in designated areas. They don't want it. They don't want it, I think, done outside designated areas.
No, so they've got wee bits of the country that you can do this here, but you can't do it here because it suits the king to have his stables here and stuff like that. Kind of, that's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, a year in Baghdad.
Did you enjoy it?
It was all right. In the middle of the war, but it was all right. One of those things.
Fair play to you, man.
The bullets went over my head and kneecapped your man behind me. It was all right.
I was trying to think a joke about that. You wouldn't even have showed up on their radar. Right, hurry up, send Terence. What's that wee Irish guy? Send him to do that. They'll not see him.
Yeah.
One of my
pals, I
don't know if I tell you, one of my pals' dads, he was there working for a while. And
very good.
They were putting up, he was there for quite a while, in fact, but they were putting up mobile phone masts.
Oh, yeah.
He says, we were putting them up.
And they were blowing them up.
Aye. He says, we were getting up out of bed the next morning and they already blew them up. He
says,
they
did,
that was just a constant cycle. He just going round these phone masts that had been blowing up, trying to fix them. And then the next time the new ones down the road, they'd been blown up as well.
Yeah, that was it, all right, yeah. That was it. I remember the boys doing that, all right. Yeah, a job for life.
like painting the fourth rail bridge in Scotland. It takes that long to build, to paint this turn to fourth rail bridge and that. It takes that long to paint it that when they get to the end date, they just start back again.
Oh, bad.
Guys have worked on that all their life. From the day they left school to the day they retired, and that's all their life was just painting this fence.
Well paid for happy days.
Right, so on to the weekend then. We're to Pittodrie. Probably, any time this season it's one of our toughest games, but Aberdeen, I think, has got a bit of a different animal this season again. Do you know what I mean? Under Barry Robson, I think he's going to. Aberdeen for me will be head and shoulders in front of the rest of the league. I think Aberdeen are a stick on for third, and it'll be a good gap between third. And if Rangers don't click and keep playing like they did yesterday, I think Aberdeen should have a pair of bollocks turns to actually have a go and try and chase Rangers down in the league.
Yeah, in fairness, Barry Robson's done a very, very good job on them. I loved Barry Robson as a player with Celtic. You know what you got with him. He was a wholehearted player, and you know what I mean. I always liked him in the Celtic midfield. So it'll be a tough game, Mark. But Pittodrie is always a tough game, and it's early in the season as well. So the Celtic need to just come out of the traps quick. Again, you just worry defensively because anytime we've been up there, Aberdeen have always been decent in the air, decent set pieces, and they've caught Celtic out so many times with set pieces. I'm hoping obviously for Celtic to just get off to a fast start in the game and please God to 3 points and just keep winning ways going, But it'll be a very, very tough game. First 20 minutes to tell a lot.
See, when we go to places like I know they drew with Livingston yesterday in that Aberdeen, but that's another one. See, when we go to places like Pittodrie, Livingston, like going to Kilmarnock, my opinion, I've said it before, get the points and get out of Dodge. I'll be delighted if you come out to Pittodrie next week with a 1-0 win.
Oh, yeah, 100% agree with you, Marcus. And that's all it is. And by all accounts, the only reason Aberdeen didn't get a win yesterday is they missed a hatful of chances. Reading reports, they missed apparently a hatful of chances. But I'd be like you, I wouldn't care less if it was a cross. It hit the back of someone's backside and went in. The Celtic won 1-0. You take it and skip down the road.
Well, we've done it last season, went it with McGregor.
Yeah, right at the end.
That late goal. But I mean, I know that again, it's not the best result doing with Livingston for them, but I like that. I'm not saying he's a Celtic, any chance a Celtic manager, but I do like that Barry Robson. I liked him as a player, and I think he'll be a good fit for Aberdeen.
He seems to manage the way he played, Mark. There's no nonsense about him. Like,
aye,
he's got Aberdeen playing as his team as well. So Celtic have to be on guard, and Celtic have to, Celtic need to be a bit tighter, especially at the back. You know what I mean? But that's going back to obviously the Joe Hart question again. But they just need to be a little bit tighter, because just even the last goal they conceded yesterday, for me, that goal it could have been prevented. You know what I mean? I know it takes a deflection, and I wouldn't be blaming Joe Hart for that one, but I just thought the ball could have been stopped.
I wouldn't even blame Starfelt for that.
No, I wouldn't blame Starfelt. I thought it should have been stopped before it got in.
It was Taylor that kind of lost the plot.
He did. I thought he had I'll be honest, I thought Taylor played well, but I thought he had a chance when your man first controlled it, because I thought he'd kind of put it too far away from himself. That Taylor had a chance to. I know you don't want the defender leaving the ground or going off his feet, but I thought it was the one time where Taylor had a chance to kind of maybe just nick the ball, just slide in and just nick the ball off your man, because your man seemed to miscontrol it a bit. But once he came inside, he took the shot. No, I wouldn't blame Starfelt. I wouldn't blame Joe Hartford, but I would have blamed him trying to cut out the ball before it kind of got to that stage, to be honest.
Just even we were talking about Taylor, but Big Jabber messaged me earlier on, or last night, talking about it, and it was like as if like Taylor was playing the kind of inverted fullback role in Ralston, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, Taylor definitely looked like he was going inside.
I'd never really noticed it, but Jabber messaged me saying that, and I just thought I'd see what you thought in it.
Well, I definitely, like, I saw Ralston once or twice go down, overlap Abada for one or two crosses, but I would have thought Taylor was definitely more in the middle, definitely, than probably Ralston. Ralston did go in there a little bit, but maybe not as much. But Taylor was definitely had pushed into that inverted full-back role.
Maybe it's a tweak Rodgers came up with.
Maybe it's a case, Mark, where he kind of goes, well, if you come in, I need you to stay out. I don't know. Rather than leaving space wide left and right. Where Taylor, if you come in, I need you, Tony, to stay there. And if you come in, Tony, then Greg, I need you to stay there.
Aye, you might be. Could be a kind of just a wee tweak to, I suppose, Angie's system. Do you know what I mean? That would give you an extra man in midfield and give you an extra man going forward, rather than two extra men in the midfield, isn't it?
Well, as well too, if Celtic are playing with 4-4-2-3-1, if they are playing a formation, if the inverted fullback comes in, that's going like 4-3-3-1 when they have the ball. Sorry, 3-3-3-1 when they have the ball. Whereas if obviously or whereas if Ralston comes in as well, all of a sudden, which was one of my criticisms last year, was we were leaving two centre backs back there, and when Celtic lost the ball, there was space left and right. Whereas it may be that was the case. Maybe he says, when you come in, you stay out. If you come in, you stay out. Just to have a defence, someone covering one side, and at least then one of the centre backs can always fall into the right back position or the left back position if that player's gone. Whereas if the right back's gone and the left back's gone, you've got two centre backs going, where do I go? Do I go left? Do I go right? And I don't know. It's only just my guess in it. You know what I mean?
It was a kind of odd one. As I said, I never really noticed it till Jabber said to us.
Yeah, but maybe it was to do with as well, Mark. They didn't want to be necessarily blocking up the midfield. You know what I mean? And getting too many bodies in there. I don't know, but
I thought we were kind of playing through the middle a lot more than we done under Angie. A lot of Angie's play was merely cutting the wings. I thought yesterday, again, the team's still progressing. I see 4 weeks' time, I'm expecting a totally different Celtic team the way we were playing that I seen yesterday. You know what I mean? It's just the first game back and stuff like that.
Yeah, I saw that as well, and I was kind of slightly surprised. I saw an awful lot of people going like, they weren't great yesterday, and compared to what we're normally used to under the Spurs managers' reign, we were spoiled for 2 years. I was like, in my head, going, I'm not trying to be bitter here, by the way, but in my head I was kind of going like, it wasn't always electric either. Like, I think it's a little bit unfair to say that it was always 100% high tempo. There was many times we were on here kind of giving out about them, kind of even going back. God, there was a little bit of the Lennon of old where they were passing it over and back and over and back. No, listen, predominantly it was excellent football to watch. It really was. But it wasn't always. It wasn't from day one. It wasn't from day one. Rip roaring stuff like people seem to be suggesting. Like there was passages of play yesterday in that game by Celtic, and they were some of the breakouts and some of the passing was unbelievable. It was brilliant, and as I said, only for the Ross County keeper, it could have come to be even 6 or 7. So I wouldn't be kind of jumping down the gun that all of a sudden that it was slow, very stagnant kind of football. I wouldn't have agreed with that when I saw some people saying that. But again, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But that's just mine. I thought some stages yesterday, I thought Celtic played lovely, lovely football, but it wasn't always the case under the Spurs manager that it was flying stuff.
It's not the case under anybody. I mean, I never seen any Jokestein's teams playing or that, right? But
you're working?
What?
Were you working at the time or something?
Aye. It was night shift. It was night shift back in the 60s. A cheeky wee bam. But it's like Jockstein teams never were this all conquering, galloping. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No team ever plays like that. I mean, it's like It's like. We had a discussion on the forum the other week about James Forrest and stuff like that, and I went on about his goal record at playing as a winger for the amount of length of time he's been at Celtic, playing as a winger for a Celtic team that's dominated Scottish football so much over the years. James Forrest should have scored a hell of a lot more goals, right? And somebody came back and said, but Jimmy Johnson was a winger and only scored, I can't even mind, X amount of goals. But for a start, the overall kind of standard of the Scottish game was a lot higher back then. Do you know what I mean? Your Kilmarnocks in that. They guys that Kilmarnock were winning cups and winning leagues and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So the overall kind of game was different back then. The landscape of the Scottish game, but Jimmy Johnson wasn't running rings around everybody every week for his full career. Jimmy Johnson did probably stinkers of games where people, I'm not saying he get booed off or anything like that, but people are, wee Johnson didn't do too well today, did he? Didn't do too much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So even that's like my kind of thing. As long as Celtic keeps on winning, the actual football that will come. Do you know what I mean? We'll become better.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I saw what you put up at that time. I read it as well, and it's a valid point, Mark. I mean, you're talking about a Celtic team that in the last
many goals with Jimmy Johnson, a player of Jimmy Johnson's ability to score for Celtic, they knew.
Oh, God only knows.
Do you know what? That's how I look at that. Do you know what I mean? On these kind of bowling green pitches with the kind of lighter ball and no getting kicked up and down the park and no getting a free kick and stuff like that for it. Jimmy Johnson would have probably scored about 30, 40 goals a season every season for Celtic. Yeah.
And you have to remember as well, Mark, it wasn't going to be a case where the Celtics of the last certainly 10, 11 years in the majority of games in Scotland have probably 75 to 80% possession. You know, in games. You know, in the majority of games, they're probably 75 to 80% possession in games. You know, so as I said this as well. Any half decent Celtic striker should rack up at least 20 goals a season. Any half decent Celtic striker should knock in 20 goals a season. For the amount of chance, they will get 4, 5, 6 chances in every game. Certainly, they'll get 4 or 5 chances in every game. Being a Celtic striker. And any striker half decent should easily be able to score 20 goals. Sorry.
But even even playing as a winger. I mean, look at what Scott Sinclair done the couple of years he was here.
Oh yeah, listen, right?
I mean,
He was dynamite.
Aye, and that's for me. That's kind of my gripe with Forrest. He just never. He's one of the players. See, when he was younger, I thought Forrest had all the talent in the world, but for me, he's never realised that. He's never became the player that you kind of expect him to become when he was younger.
No, yeah, and that's a very fair point, Mark. You know what I mean? I mean, I imagine even with his appearances, I don't know what they are, but imagine if you looked at his appearance for the length of time he's here, it's probably quite small in regards to the number. You know what I mean? And like he's 14 years here, they said, or something like that.
Aye.
That he should be, when you look at the Celtic greats in appearances, like he should be on the list. Like, no, I'm not saying he isn't. I don't know, but I know he's had awful time with injuries. He seems to be there, and then he was gone for a month, and then he was back, and then he was gone, and then he was back, and so I mean,
it's a good few years ago now, but mind you, it was the problems with his back, sciatica. That was one of his big problems, and it turned out in terms of that was because of the motor he was driving.
You were saying a low sports car or something like that, or something.
And they told him that's what was the cause of it, and he refused to change his motor and stuff like that. You've got to say, well,
that's a bit much, like.
Screw the nut. I mean, really, as you've got, if a doctor tells you to your back, it's the car you're driving, you're going to get a new motor, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you're going to get rid of it. You're going to do whatever you have to do to make sure that you're okay, like.
And things like that always kind of stick in my throat when you think about Forrest. I had big hopes for Forrest when he was a young player, and I mean, I'm not bad mouthing the guy. I've said it on the forum, and as I said, I tried to get me and Grot Bags to go to testimonial, and the tickets didn't materialise. But he was a good servant for Celtic. He's won, what is he, third in the overall trophy list, or fourth or something like that, which is fair dues as well. But how many of the actual trophies would you say he's earned the way McGregor has? Do you know what I mean? Cal McGregor, what, 60 odd games, year in, year out. Injured, playing through injuries, you name it.
But that's what I'm saying, Mark. If you compared the period of time McGregor's there, the period of time Forrest is there, the amount of trophies that they've won, like Scott Brown's a prime example. Scott Brown was at Celtic for what, was he 14 years, something like that, similar, something like that. Yeah, Scott Brown is on the list for most appearances in the Celtic greats. Like Forrest is probably nowhere near that, which says a lot about how many games he's actually played for the time he's been there. I could be wrong, and please, if there's anyone there that can correct me, please do. But Scott Brown had a ridiculous amount of appearances for Celtic. Probably Callum McGregor probably has as many appearances as Forrest, if not a good bit more than Forrest. He could have a lot more than Forrest, and Forrest is probably there a lot longer playing wise than McGregor, like. It goes to your point about the 100 goals or whatever, 100 goals in 14 years. It's if you accumulated in 14 years, and how many games have you played? If it's 500 games or 400 games or 3, whatever it may be, and you break it down, it might only be 15 games a season, 20 games a season. So it all has to be taken into context. And said 100 goals for 14 years as a forward, as an attacking winger stroke forward, it's not a lot of goals, like.
No. That was my kind of point about it. For the way Celtic's dominated the game over the last, in fact, that's for Forrest. For like Forrest broke into the team. We've been the most dominant team in Scotland. We're running out of the tappy teams. When you look at Abada, look at the numbers Abada has been put in the first season he was here and stuff like that. Even last season when he was only a back part player. Look at Scott Sinclair, guys like that, and Forrest's been for that long, and he's just for me it's been a kind of wasted kind of career. Do you know what I mean? He could have reached so much higher level than he actually reached. I don't know whether he just fell into a comfort zone, because it seems like he's always one of the boys. He's always at the racing kind of dressed up like the Peaky Blinders and stuff like that, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
one of the boys, and he's probably well liked in the dressing room, kind of thing, and that. But that can only take you so far. You've got to be producing, for me, on a mere regular basis than Forrest has in a long, long time for Celtic.
Yeah, it'd be actually very interesting to see now. Come the weekend, will he be on? Will he be in the bench again? Will he be possibly used if he's again the weekend? I get your point why he was used last weekend, and it makes perfect sense. But it'd be very interesting to see will he be used again, as in coming on if they're making changes against Aberdeen? Will he be one of the ones that's there?
Well, see if we were sitting there at nothing each terms with 20 minutes to go, but is there any Celtic fan that would be sitting there shouting to the telly or whatever after the game, right, Brendan, come on, time to get Forrest on?
I would think very few.
I'd like to think there isn't many at all, if any, really. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of player he is. I mean, I know people like him as... I don't know. Do people just like him because he's been at Celtic so long and they kind of give him a kind of pass for... I mean,
Probably part of the furniture.
Aye.
Probably that will certainly have a bearing on it, Mark. You know what I mean? Because obviously with his trophy hall behind him and his years of service and stuff like that, and there could very well be that, you're given a break on that basis, like,
I mean, it's like he's full time at Celtic, in 3 seasons out of 14, he scored more than 10 goals.
So that's shocking, like
2017-18, 2018-19, and 2019-20. He scored 17, 17, and 16. The rest of the time, 9, 4, 4, 2. The 33 games he played in 2015-16. He's played 33 games and scored 2 goals. Do you know what I mean? 2021-22, 32 games, 4 goals. So
Yeah.
it's no it's fair dues. I mean there's like 2020, 21, he only played 17 games and he scored 4 goals, right? So obviously injuries, whatever, no playing. But it's all right to say, but he doesn't play much, he's injured a lot. But even when he is playing, I mean, 2016-17, 46 games he played and he scored 8 goals. 46 games for a Celtic player in 2015-16.
Whereas if you looked up that same season, whenever it was when Sinclair joined, you know what I mean? You can be guaranteed it's probably double digits.
Aye. And it's just a weird one. And I mean, as far as going to offer anything towards like guaranteeing his like the title, really.
No, I'd be surprised, Mark. That, and as I said, I can understand when you rationaled with me about why he came off the bench, and it makes perfect sense with carrying the trophy and all that, and doing the flag. I get it, but that's what I'm saying. It'd be very interesting to see will he be in that same predicament on Sunday, or sorry, the weekend, whenever it is. If he does the same thing, if he then does the same thing, then in my head I'm going right. He considers Forrest a guy to change a game.
I mean, people.
No, he could go the weekend. Who knows?
I probably will. No, probably also people can ram it down my throat next week. But it's like people say, I stepped up to the mark when Paddy Roberts was here. But we've got a badder. Do you know what I mean? Why is he not stepping up to the mark while these guys have been here?
He's got more competition now, to be honest, Mark, than he did back then.
Aye.
Because Abada will play both wings, Maeda will play both wings. Haksabanovic is there. They've now got your man, the Korean guy. I can't think of his name now. Again, Yang, is it? They've got he's there. So like, there's plenty of young Summers is there. They've got plenty of competition there for him. He doesn't, So to be anyway, a guy like Forrest should be a leader, not a follower. You know what I mean? He should be a guy that guys are looking up to, going, God, Jamesy Forrest. Jamesy Forrest is starting. You know, Jamesy Forrest is a leader. He's a starter. Like Callum McGregor, he's a starter. And if Forrest can give you 50 minutes and his legs are out, then change him. No problem, change him.
And that's the thing. But Terence, it's right, fair dues, right? The guy did a testimony, he was entitled to get it and stuff like that. But it's, I mean, for the length of time he's been there, Celtic fans shouldn't be having to discuss his merits. Do you know what I mean? Why Celtic kept a player like that for so long? There's really no hit the heights that is expected any Celtic player. See if he'd bought a young guy at 17 or 18 and had kept him for this length of time and he was putting in the numbers Forrest had, Celtic fans would be going after him nut.
Oh, they would, yeah. No, yeah, that's a very fair point. Very fair point.
Do you know what I mean? It's just because he came through the youth system, just because he's homegrown, I don't know what that is. It's just, I mean, there was a time that, who was it? There was a team down in England that offered us £9 million for him.
I think it was Spurs, was it?
Was it Spurs?
I thought it was Spurs. I could be wrong. You know what I mean? But
there was a time a few years back, there was a few teams sniffing about him, and even then I thought that would be ideal to get rid of him if we could get a decent wage in for him. Mm. And yet he's still there, plodding away. I mean, I don't know. This new contract terms, maybe it's a kind of lesser contract he's signed. I don't know. Well, it's a bit of a mystery why you got that.
Well, if you can. It's not exactly the same, but I don't think it's a million miles off it. If you look at, and we've all said it, if you look at the James McCarthy, it's a prime example, right? Who's someone who came up and everyone was going, oh God, this guy's going to be injured now, and he played a bit and he was in and he's out and he's in and out, and we're all saying, look, we need shot of him. He can't be relied upon. The only difference between him and Forrest is that Forrest has come through the ranks. And in regards to the way, in the latter stages of his career, he's come seems to be a lot more injury prone. Forrest is the exact same. Forrest is, you can hear, James has tweaked himself in training, he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, and then he's back for a game or two, then he's out, then he's back. I'm not comparing like I'm just trying to find something of a similar ilk. And the James McCarthy one is where everyone's like, you have to get rid of him, he's always injured. But no one would think the same of Forrest. If I'm making any sense, I'm probably not.
I know what you mean. Right? Is it right? What if he's saying James McCarthy for Hamilton Accies, and he was still here after 14 years later and be putting in the numbers, but like what Forrest had done, he'd be taking absolute dog's abuse out of it.
Yeah, he would. It's just that there's probably a bit more leeway to a guy who's come through the ranks and won the accolades he's won.
Aye.
Whereas if that was James McCarthy, he'd come through the ranks or come from Hamilton at a young guy when he was linked, and he came and he has 8 or 9 titles. The same. He wouldn't be looked at in the same way as he is now. You know, because he's 9 or 10 titles or 7 or 8 titles, even though he might have contributed to 3 of them.
They're Martin saying Forrest is to help with the coaching team. Oh, God help us. What's he got to coach? What's James Forrest got to coach anybody today?
How can James Forrest be part of the coaching team? He can't. You can't. He's not. I'm not saying he is or isn't, but like you've John Kennedy, you've Gordon Strachan, you've sports science guys, you've strength and conditioning coaches. I mean,
you've got Darren Adair,
you've got McManus, you've got all these other guys, you've got guys behind the scenes that I wouldn't know, but I said you've got strength and conditioning coaches. See the guys doing the warm-ups and the pitches at the start of the game, they're clearly strength and conditioning guys and stuff like that. You won't see Kennedy and Strachan and them boys out there doing it. It's these particular guys. So I for the life of me, first of all, Forrest would have to go in and do badges and everything else. And if he's going to be coaching, fine, but coach the underage sides, the younger sides.
Send him to the women's team if he's coaching.
Yeah, or whatever, but there's no way he's going to be able to go out and go to the current squad and go, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Fellas going to be standing there looking at it going, someone pulling the mic here.
Tuck your woolly in, James is hanging out your shorts again, son.
Yeah, do you know, like, I mean, and anyway, sure, the powers to be, the as I said, the Kennedys and Strackens and all that. They wouldn't.
People always come out with that terms, didn't they? It's like on the forum.
Is it up to Scott Brown as well? Like?
Aye, but if somebody on the forum or Joe Hartner, just get him on the coaching staff. We've got one of the best goalkeeping coaches in the world that could walk into probably any team in the world they wanted to, in Stevie Woods. So why the hell would Celtic go for Joe Hart a coaching role? Because he's been here 2 years because his name's Joe Hart. Absolute nonsense, stuff like that.
But Mark, the other side of it, and the proof in the pudding is in a lot of managers and coaches and things like that. Just because you're a good player doesn't mean you're going to be a good coach or a good manager.
Well,
you know, look at him predominantly. Yeah, look at Roy Keane. Look at Roy Keane and look at Arsene Wenger. Right, polar opposites.
Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah,
Mourinho. But guys that never actually played, they kicked a ball in any kind of anger or done any note as a player became some of the best coaches in the world.
Yeah. The only one that I can think straight away is obviously Guardiola, who's a fantastic player and obviously is an excellent coach. But that's that's one off the top of my head that I can think of. But what I'm saying is I'm playing predominantly. You'll find that a lot of guys who were excellent, like Rodgers. Rodgers is the prime example.
Aye.
So yeah, just because you're a good player doesn't mean you're going to be a good coach. And anyway, you can't
look at the other aspect, the flip side of it, guys like John Barnes.
Yeah.
No, I mean, a cracking. Honestly, John Barnes was probably one of the best players I've seen in my life. To be honest, he really was. But I mean, as a manager, as a coach, or that.
Roy Keane was the same. Glenn Hoddle for me was the same. Glenn Hoddle was a sensational player, but I don't think even though he was an England manager, I don't think he had a clue what he was doing personally. I couldn't. The guy's been here just 2 years, and people just he deserves a coaching job at Celtic. You can't just hire people through like being sentimental. But the argument we'd end up with more coaches and we've got players. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, but I was also going to say, Mark, why do people think he's a really good keeper? Because he's been really well coached by the guy who's already there.
Aye.
Stevie Woods is a coach. So if the keepers are doing decent, we have argued the point at the minute we think he's gone backwards with the age side of things. But up to this point, everyone's been very happy with Hart. Stevie Woods has been there. Like, look at Stevie Woods. Look at Fraser Foster. Look at all the guys that have come through there. He's had a lot of good. He's had a lot of Arthur Barrett. He's had a lot of good keepers through his gloves, so to speak. Excuse the pun. Why would you get rid of a guy that seems to?
Because you stuck up for Barkas and fought for Barkas to get signed.
Probably because he's not a name either.
But see, I've said it before. I mean, I see he signed for that Utrecht.
Okay.
I mean, they were delighted with him, and it was just a case of they couldn't. I think. I mean, don't get us wrong. We've lost money. I don't think we lost all our money. There was probably some add-ons that maybe and stuff, whatever. But I mean, I think that was the stumbling block because Utrecht were really impressed with him in the Dutch league, which is named Mug League. You know what I mean? But they couldn't actually afford to pay Celtic a transfer fee and the wages that Barkas was looking for. So Celtic, fair dues, they've wrote it off and cut the guy a bit of slack and give him a chance to go and keep his career going. But I mean, you've got to remember again, transfers don't work out. We keep saying it. Look at Chris Sutton at Chelsea. That's one of the prime examples connected to Celtic. Do you know what I mean? Sutton at Chelsea, and then he came up to Celtic and ran amok for us. So, I mean, I still maintain Barkas isn't a good keeper. No, Barkas isn't a bad keeper. Didn't he come out right? It just that move just hasn't worked out for him for whatever reason. The COVID stuff and the way the club was under Lennon, whatever, it didn't work out. But it doesn't mean that Stevie Woods is a bad coach or a bad judge or goalkeeper. That particular move didn't work out. Who knows if COVID hadn't hit and the fans were in the stadium and it was all sorts of other stuff. How do we know that it wouldn't have become like a predominant Celtic number one? He's
probably, as you said, Mark, he's probably not a bad goalie because he played to manage. He played Champions League for Athens against Celtic, and clearly he's stood out, and clearly they've watched him for a while and said, look, this is the guy, and they paid good money for him to come in as well, and 4.5 million, and with Foster going and Gordon going and all this kind of stuff. So they obviously had him well scouted, and Stevie Woods obviously was keen as mustard on him. But it's like that. It just didn't work out for the guy. It was probably bad timing, but it was one of those things. And the longer it went on, the worse it was looking and the worse it was becoming. And the more, even though he may not have been, the more disinterested he looked. But look, it is one of those things, and good luck to him. And as you said, we'll probably wind up playing him in a Champions League game or a Europa League game or something like that.
I was just going to bring that up. I said that at the time.
You said that a few times, and he'd probably have a stormer.
Aye.
Right, well, time will tell.
That's 9:10. We'll cut that.
Right.
Wind it up then, bud. Aye. So, how can people sit and listen to two guys talking absolute shite for 2 hours?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm married to him. I married to him a couple of years now, and she's managed it so far. So I don't know.
Right, thanks very much for coming on, Terry. Anyway,
no worries, bud.
Everybody in the live chat, thanks very much for coming on. I hope you enjoyed that. Everybody that tunes in after it, I hope you enjoy it on Spotify and everything. Big shout out to all you. We're getting quite decent. Some numbers on Spotify. You know, the other platforms. I don't know if it's good or no. Just remember, if you like what we're doing, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you know how, leave a comment. Again, thanks very much to our hail, good night, lads, and God bless.